The game is here in Indianapolis with us. Chris Carter, welcome to Good Morning Football.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good seeing you again.
Great to see you. We did a Week 2 game. We did Arizona Cardinals versus Baltimore Ravens. We got a chance to speak a lot. And I know how you are so passionate about these young men in the league. And you've had the opportunity this week to be working with some of the quarterbacks and some of the wide receivers very extensively.
Yes.
I've heard a lot about Joe Burrow, but you've had a lot of time with Tua this week. What is your takeaways from the perspective number 1 or number 2 overall pick?
For one, it's great that the NFL has come up with the mentoring program. What they're trying to connect is the greats of the game with the future stars of the game. They've been doing it for 6 years. We got 14 here. And what I've seen with Tua and the interaction with him, because I have half the wide receivers and 10 quarterbacks, he is the Pied Piper. Like, he has leadership skills that you can't teach. And you might think, given his upbringing, where he was, like, him being able to embrace being a take charge guy, I've been very, very impressed with him. Now, you know his throwing, his accuracy, his anticipation, but his leadership skills, I think that teams, when they spend 4 or 5 days with him like I have, I think that they're going to clue into that also.
Now, I know that you've been with so many quarterbacks over your career. They're not always the most boisterous or the talkative ones that are leaders. So what kind of traits has he shown that the guys are following? Because he's not going to be screaming in your face.
No, he's not that type of leader, but you can just tell he's very, very open. He's not a quarterback that separates himself, which a lot of quarterbacks do, because they are the marquee player in that franchise. You can see he sits with different people at every meal. His conversation, he interacts like no matter who it might be or what the conversation might be. He's a good listener. He's a very, very funny guy. Like, he's way funnier than I ever anticipated. So those are the type of skills that make people, Patty Mahomes, Russell Wilson, all these things that we don't have a test for. You sit down with the person 15 minutes, you should have some type of indicator of who they are and everything. And Tua is a special, special human being. The film tells us he's a special football player.
Awesome. And you've also been with the wide receivers. So let me ask you just who's been blowing you away this week, and who's a wide receiver that you think is going to really make an impact at the next level?
Well, I just think that this wide receiver group, I believe it will go down as one of the best in the last 20 years.
And that's not coming from me. That's coming from one of the greatest of all time to say that.
Yeah, because it's like ice cream. I mean, they have every flavor, they have every size, speed type, body type, big-chested, small guys who can scoot, big guys who can run. So I just believe that you have to be careful, though, because all these receivers come with instructions. I would say the kid from Jefferson from LSU.
Yep.
Because the level of competition he's played at, now I know Judy. Judy is a special player. CD, not only the name, he has dominated. But I just believe at the end of that first round, there are going to be some guys really being gems. And Jefferson's ability to be able to make plays all over the field.
We've heard about Van Jefferson. This is Justin Jefferson, the LSU receiver.
Yes, and I believe that we've always seen this, not only the top guys, but around that third or fourth guy. You know, so there's a number of guys that I really, really like and have fallen in love with, but he is one of them, especially when you can take the competition in the SEC, what he sees in practice. See, I give guys a lot of credit for practice. Guys that go to Alabama, guys that go to LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, because what they see on a daily basis in practice really gets them ready for that next jump up into the league.
I know you've had time to spend extensive amount of time with CD Lamb, the receiver who has blown everyone away, and everyone knows that this guy from Oklahoma has been with Kyler, has been with Baker, has been with Jalen Hurts. He's been with you. You've trained with him. What does the audience need to know about CD Lamb?
I mean, he has a suddenness to him. As you remember, Isaac Bruce just went into the Hall of Fame. He has a suddenness to him like that. I'd like to see him. And the only thing about CD that I don't, sometimes that competition in the Big 12, they don't have as many NFL defensive backs as we see in the other conferences. So can he play in the slot? He's very explosive. His catch radius is ridiculous. He's a big play waiting to happen. Get the ball in his hands, and that's when the party starts. So very, very impressed with him. Also, he's a fun-loving kid.
Yeah.
I did not have one problem. I yelled at him one time on the first day just to test him. He was like, "What do you want me to do, coach?" And I was like, "I want you to look like a top 15 pick." Every moment that I spent with him over the last couple months, he has proven to me that he is worthy of the ratings that people have given him.
Now, I know that you're here from the Legends community, and these kids are going to soak up every piece of information from you. How has this week been for you to kind of play this role with such a group of guys and then be around some of the other legends and do it on the national stage with the Indianapolis crowd and the Combine?
Well, for me, I just don't take it for granted. This is my 5th decade being involved with the National Football League, and anytime they take you and they give you their prized possessions. You know, I got 5 days. I've been here since Sunday with them. When they touch down, I touch down. I've been in every meal with them. And the ability to take someone from the past who can just maybe help, you know, just like in broadcast, someone just to help you in your career so you can get off to a smooth start. Avoid some of those bumps that some of us wide receivers have had along the way. But this group has been quality, no problems with the doctors, no problems with the interviews, no problems wearing the right uniforms. I'm expecting them to put on a tremendous show tonight because the guys are anticipating being able to perform in primetime.
My last question, is there one guy tonight that you think is going to blow away the scouts in just the workouts with the wide receivers?
Well, Ruggs, man, anytime people talk about running sub 4.3, now that's not, because there's not a lot of human beings that can run 4.3, but he is going to run fast. I believe there are going to be a number of other players that are going to come from nowhere and be like, oh my God, or they're shocked. Because the one thing that's really different in the wide receivers now and the wide receivers of the past, these wide receivers are more into lifting weights and really the explosive exercise that you can practice now. They should perform well.
Chris Carter, I know you did a podcast with Aeneas Williams. We can find that on the Legends community.
Yes.
Tremendous stuff. Thanks so much for doing it.
Welcome back to Good Morning Football. The Combine is here. The drills are tonight. We welcome in Will Selva out in the newsroom in Culver City. It all starts, the coverage at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on NFL Network. And then we're looking for that speed from all of these wide receivers, a deep class, the quarterbacks, and the tight ends hit the field tonight.
Oh, yeah, and those guys are going to be in high demand, okay? That is for sure. We know the Redskins, of course, own the 2nd overall pick, and most mock drafts have them selecting Ohio State's Chase Young. And there's no need for them really to draft a QB. They already have one in Dwayne Haskins, right? But head coach Ron Rivera is saying, not so fast. They are visiting with Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Rivera declaring they're looking at everything. He's also looking at an offense with some young pieces. Beside Haskins, they have running back Darius Geis and wide receiver Terry McLaurin. Rivera explaining that it was young guys like these that drew him to the job.
You know, it's an opportunity to have a group of young players that can grow together. That's one thing I find exciting, and it's one of the things that really kind of drew me to this roster is there's a group of young guys, especially in the last 3 drafts, that have played a lot of football out of necessity. They've taken their lumps, they've learned a lot, and now it's going to be up to us to teach and train these young men as we go forward.
The Giants are looking to get younger and cut cost. As such, they released starting linebacker Alec Ogletree. Ogletree due $10 million in base salary in 2020. Defensive end Kareem Martin also released, saving the team $4.2 million. Raiders GM Mike Mayock insisting the team is evaluating every position in their roster, and if there's a chance to upgrade, they'll look into that. Mayock making it no secret the team is definitely looking into the receiver spot. Speaking to reporters, Mayock saying, quote, I think everybody standing here knows we need help at wideout. Mayock says the Antonio Brown situation left a void that they really weren't able to fill. Keeping in mind Darren Waller, who we love on the program, he was the leading receiver for the Raiders. And yes, they had Renfro as well, but he's making it no secret that Antonio Brown move and everything that happened with it did not help out this team, guys.
You're right about that, Will. They definitely found some superstars with Waller and Renfro. Speaking of finding superstars, today marks the kickoff of the 2020 NFL Combine. I'm here with my guy, Kyle Brandt, who played college football at Princeton at a high level. He did his thing. Kyle, I know there was a point in your college career where you thought to yourself, I want to have a shot at going to the Combine like every other college player.
Well, I was like every kid. Grew up wanting to play in the pros. High school, score a bunch of touchdowns. It's easy. Played Division I football. I thought, Jason Garrett went to the pros. Princeton, maybe I could do it. And I remember the exact moment I knew I would never play NFL football. It actually has to do with the Combine. It was in 1999, and I'm watching Rich Eisen, who was on SportsCenter at the time, and I was a running back. And Rich reported, today at the Combine, Edgerrin James weighed in at 222 pounds and ran a 4.38 40. And I said, I better hit the books, because I ain't playing running back in the NFL. Thank you, Rich. Now, you did play in the NFL, Nate.
Yeah.
Let's go to the 2003 Combine.
Yeah.
All right? The John Gruden Buccaneers had just won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
The Bengals, again, had the #1 pick. They took Carson Palmer.
Yep.
LeBron and was about to go to the NBA, and Ben Affleck was Daredevil. It was a crazy time. So when you show up coming out of Nevada, smaller program, you think you know everything about the Combine. You prepared. Was there anything when you showed up that surprised you?
Yeah, speaking of Daredevil, I guess I was blind to a lot of things that were going on, because when I got to Indy, I thought to myself, I'm going to meet a lot of like-minded college players, guys that are, 20, 21, 22 years old, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to show out at the biggest interview of our lives. And I was so surprised that guys act like they made it. I remember being there and not leaving the hotel, but guys had jewelers pull up. They had cars pull up that they were buying.
In Indy?
In Indy. Guys were going out and kicking it at night. And I'm thinking to myself, how could you do anything or focus on anything other than football? Because that's all I focus on for 3 days, trying to figure out how to be the most exaggerated version of myself so I can impress every single team.
You try to impress the team the most with the drills.
Yeah.
And you get prepared and you're everything, but it must be unbelievably nerve-wracking. I know for you, your vertical jump was going to be a huge card that you play.
No doubt.
For somebody like Henry Ruggs, that 40, he's got to cook it. That's everything. What was your experience during the actual drills?
Yeah, I was in the draft with guys like Anquan Bolden, Andre Johnson. Yeah. So these were superstars. And to me, I knew that if they tested, they were going to do well at certain events. I just knew I had to nail something. I knew I was going to be pretty good at everything, but if I can go out with one category, and I did, the vertical was my thing. And there it is. My 40 time was a 4.53. My vertical was where I really caught eyes. It was 42.5. But I knew if I can test well across the board, then I'd be perfectly fine. The one thing that I regret is how much I weigh.
Okay.
And I think you were going to ask me about the worst advice I got, right?
You came in overweight?
No, I came in underweight. I played my college career around 180, 185, fluctuated in between there. And then I got to the Combine, and I started listening to the wrong people, the whispers. I started reading the papers. Hey, Burles is pretty good. He's athletic. He seems to be fast, but he's skinny.
Yeah.
He's frail. And, we like bigger receivers. The NFL works in and what's popular. And at that time, we're looking at David Boston, TOs. So I thought to myself,
Burleson won't stand up to press coverage.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's put on some weight.
He dominated in the WAC conference, but those aren't big DBs. Kyle, when I tell you I ate more than I ate ever before, I talk spaghetti, steaks, potatoes.
Cadbury.
I went from about 182 to 197. Now, when I got on the scale, I heard people saying, wow, we didn't know he was that heavy. But then when I ran my 40, I was like, how did I run a 4.53, but I ran a 4.31 in training? That's because I had almost 15 pounds of extra water weight sitting on me. So that was the worst advice that I took, was listening to people that said you should put on weight to impress the scouts.
That's why you ran 4.53. I know you're a faster player than that. Lastly, take it away from the drills, the interviews. Nate, I've seen you do hundreds and hundreds of interviews. On the other side of it, what do you remember from going in those rooms with those teams? Who sticks out?
Everything was traditional. The Houston Texans, it was a little bit non-traditional. Dom Capers was the coach. He sat back with his arm crossed and he said, hey, give me cover one. I nailed it. Cover one. Boom. Cover two. Cover two. Cover four. Okay, across the board.
The Texans had the number 3 pick and took Andre.
Exactly.
So he's making you do the chalk
He's
work.
making me, because listen, I put up 138 catches. He's like, he has to be smart. And then he said, give me cover 6 boundary. Now, I know exactly what it is. It's a mix between cover 2 and cover 4. But for some reason, I went blank. In my mind, as I'm writing, I'm like, I don't know this answer. And I'm writing it, and as I finished, I put the pen in my pocket, and he looks at me, he's like, are you sure about that? And my mind was like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. But then I had to say, yeah, I'm sure. And he looked at me, he's like, you're wrong. And I walked out of that meeting, I said, yep, they're not going to draft me.
Unbelievable.
And sure enough, they did.
They go Dre.
They went the right choice.
So that's the lesson. Nate messes up the chalkboard. He comes in